Okay, hello, and thank you for listening in today in honor of the two featured artists exhibiting work at the FotoFocus 2022 Biennial with the theme entitled World Record. Mohammed Kazem hails from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and Cristiana de Marchi originates from Italy. Flag Studio in Camp Washington is a collaborative working art studio and innovation research laboratory and gallery housing currently artists Larry Collins, Daniel Reidy, Jeremy Schulz, and I. We have all made response artworks to the work of Mohammed and Cristiana, and we're so excited to present this exhibition. First of all, welcome virtually to the Flag Studio in Camp Washington. Both of you resided in Cincinnati for an artist residency in 2018, with exhibiting works at UC at the DAP Galleries in 2019. Can you both tell me about your experience here in Ohio making work and living at the Wade Pool Art Center in Camp Washington? We'll start with Cristiana.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, although virtually. So yes, so we were both in residence in 2018-19, and it was certainly like a very interesting experience from my perspective. I'm mostly interested in socio-political issues and questions, and the fall of 2018 coincided with the midterm election. So it was really like, for me, from let's say an artistic perspective, a very striking moment. I worked on a few projects relating to questions of which were like of actuality at the time. And then, of course, I had been in a few other residency programs in the US, but discovering Ohio and Cincinnati specifically was again like a very different entry point in the society of the US, if I may say so. So yeah, I think, I mean, just as a very quick answer, but it was a very productive period, and I think also another thing was the issue of the time, the period of the year. So it was like the fall, and as the title of the exhibition that we eventually had in January 2019, it was the illusion of summer, because there was this specific kind of light, I don't know, in Cincinnati, which is probably like returning again, since we are talking about receiving and collecting for Mohammed specifically, but also for me. That quality of light was really like illusional somehow, and it really played in a very peculiar way with the works that personally I created, and I guess Mohammed as well, partially at least.
Awesome. Let's go to Mohammed. Mohammed, how did you feel about being in Cincinnati and talking and making work here?
Yeah, first I'm very glad to be a part of this exhibitions, and in the fact I never had any plan when I decided to go to any residency. I often interact and engage in the social life, environmental, and beside of that, I try to capture the elements in the city. So when I reached the Cincinnati, it was in I have been photographing the light in the city, especially in the downtown and that area, where how the Cincinnati, the buildings and architect perceiving the light, and how all this building reacting with lights. So the idea was how it's not only reacting, and how transforming all this light to become form. And for me, this transaction has become kind of the sound in my practice. So I decided to collect all those shapes of the light and scratch or the shapes on the photographs by the printing. So you see here, you can see the photographs where you shoot the photographs and you fix the moment in the photographs, the places where I do scratches. So it has an infinity movement because the shade is reacting with the natural light and artificial lights. So, and it's also became when you invited me in 2010 when I been in Philadelphia, when I made a work with the gums, the kisses work. So I immediately interact to the city. So I feel each city have different elements. So and those elements often I put them in the context of my artwork.
So let's speak a little bit about the Kisses artworks that you're exhibiting. Tell me about that methodology of the connecting the dots kind of momentum of when you realized this nature, because your work has spanned the gamut of painting and drawing, of video, of performance, and it seems like this work encompasses a lot of all of those elements. Noticing something, connecting things, performing.
So the first time when I reached to United States, and the same day when I also meet you in the Philadelphia, the same night when I crossed that road. So I've seen a lot of gums in the street, which is not really existing everywhere. But then I decided to do something with those kisses. It has a kind of a poetic vision when you look to this dots. So I decided to connect them together. So those gums actually came through the people where they threw them in the street. And the idea to connect them together. Then I decided to connect them together by using chalk and documenting them next day in the street. So the kisses, you don't know this, who's kissing who? Man kissing man, or man kissing woman, or woman kissing child, or child kissing old woman, or someone kissing someone who's not existing even. So this is something, is elements of that cities, and it might be I mean, example from my experience, I never see in Singapore when I've been there in 2006, the Biennial. So this is elements of that city which I have been interact. Besides of that, I have done several works in Philadelphia with the colors, with the nurses work and other projects. So for me, I feel that each city has different elements, and sometimes we don't pay attention to them, but I felt this was one of the work which I was not expecting if I didn't be in Cincinnati to make it. If I was in Dubai, I could not make it.
No, I very much appreciate that. And for your work, Cristiana, this idea of connecting the unconnectable, what that looks like, or the unknowing connecting of certain moments or certain movements, it's much like embroidery. It's much like thread-based work. It's much like capturing something or a moment, or blurring the lines of what you do with your video pieces of the flags. Color becomes movement, becomes uncolor. And so maybe you can talk about that series of work that is focused on this exhibition as well, looking at kind of a branding of a nation of human-made borders and what it becomes when the simplest of movements eliminates the lines, and how it's focused your interest on these two video pieces.
Yeah, well, I mean, those videos are really connected to a series of works that I've been working on since now quite a long time, and which are all like focusing on borders and the paraphernalia of like nationhood in general. So flags are really a very important element which identify what a nationhood is, or recognize itself in. And so I work mostly with textiles, and I made like a series of flags, which are like white flags, for instance, or faded flags to like refer to values, which are like the founding values of nationhood, but which are of course deteriorating over time, or ideals which are not there anymore or are not implemented through the structures, the governmental structures of the nations. And for that specific work, it's a series of diptychs. So we are showing the US and Russia diptych. It's a work that I made in 2017, and it really like shows how history repeats itself somehow. And of course, I mean, it's for me, it was interesting from visual point of view, the fact that both the Russian and US flag have the same colors, so the red, blue, and white, in a shape which is completely different. And by like submitting those flags to a rotation, which is progressively increasing, I was looking at the effect of the movement on the color and on the shape, and then on ways in which the light would eventually like take over and dissolve both the colors and the form, the shape. But it dissolves in ways which are not identical anyway. So there is like a substratum of difference even in the light, which eventually is the result of the work itself.
Well, I'm so pleased that you're exhibiting these works, and with Mohammed's works as well in the gallery space, with the responses from the artists at the studio reacting to the works. It's going to be a very amazing exhibition. And I'll just say a little closing. We wish you could be here in person. As always, I personally do as well. We look forward to your next visit in Cincinnati. As we bridge the gap from the Midwest to the Mideast, our door is always open to both of you. Our border is invisible at Flag Studio. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your work with us today. Thank you to the entire FotoFocus team for supporting this exhibition.
Thank you for the opportunity to show the work again in Cincinnati. We also wish we could be there with you, not only in spirit, hopefully soon.
Thank you both.